Module 2, Flood Disaster. Unit 2.2, Flood Recovery and Restoration. Learning Outcomes. After completing this unit, participants will be able to describe the main aspects of disaster recovery, recognize the steps of damage and needs assessment, define recovery and long-term recovery, explain who takes part in flood-related recovery efforts, paraphrase what future disaster planning involves. Post-flood recovery and restoration. Overview of post-flood recovery. After a flood, recovery and restoration become essential stages where communities work to rebuild daily life. In emergency management, recovery focuses on bringing back social functions, repairing infrastructure, and stabilizing the local economy. Key elements of successful recovery. Effective recovery includes clearing debris, providing shelter, assessing damages, restoring infrastructure, and offering financial aid. These actions aim to return conditions to normal, strengthen resilience, and decrease vulnerabilities in future disasters. Pillars of post-flood recovery and restoration. 1. Infrastructure rehabilitation. 2. Economic recovery. 3. Social rehabilitation. 4. Environmental restoration. 5. Risk reduction and preparedness. 6. Government and policy actions. 7. International cooperation. Infrastructure rehabilitation involves rebuilding damaged housing and buildings, repairing transportation networks like roads and bridges, and restoring essential utilities such as water, sewage, and electrical systems. Economic recovery focuses on supporting small businesses through financial and technical assistance, while also creating temporary employment opportunities through public works projects to help rebuild the local economy. Social rehabilitation includes psychosocial support to address mental health, rebuilding educational institutions for students and teachers, and engaging communities in decision-making to strengthen participation and recovery. Environmental restoration focuses on repairing damaged ecosystems, protecting vegetation along water bodies, and managing debris and waste properly to support ecological recovery. Risk reduction and preparedness involves strengthening infrastructure against floods, improving early warning systems, and educating communities about flood risks to reduce future impacts. Government and policy actions include updating land use plans and building codes, and offering financial support to aid recovery efforts. International cooperation involves working with governments, NGOs, and global agencies, along with accessing international resources to support recovery and restoration. Damage and needs assessment. Post-flood assessments help determine the scale of damage and identify what communities need for recovery. Since floods are common and highly destructive, they often cause major physical damage, displacement, and economic disruption. Damage and needs assessment, comprehensive assessment tasks. Physical infrastructure. Evaluation. Assessment starts with examining buildings, roads, bridges, and other critical structures. Engineers check how severe the damage is, whether repairs are possible, and what resilience strategies are needed. Economic fallout analysis. After infrastructure, the focus shifts to economic losses, impact on businesses, agriculture, and productivity. This analysis is done with the help of economists, business analysts, and agricultural experts. This stage includes environmental repercussions evaluation, humanitarian aspects consideration, and social and cultural sensitivity, focused on understanding impacts on the environment, addressing humanitarian priorities, and respecting social and cultural factors in the assessment process. Environmental repercussions evaluation involves assessing soil erosion, water pollution, and ecosystem disruption, while also developing environmental restoration strategies created by scientists and conservationists. Humanitarian aspects consideration involves detailed surveys of casualties, injuries, and displacement, along with coordination with humanitarian organizations and healthcare professionals to address immediate medical needs. Social and cultural sensitivity covers evaluating how floods affect community identity and daily life, and working with social cultural experts to help protect cultural values during recovery. Importance of assessment. Assessment is crucial because it forms the base for a sustainable and effective recovery process. It gives a full holistic picture by examining infrastructure damage, human and economic impacts, environmental changes, and social-cultural effects together. This broad understanding helps guide better planning and response after floods. Addressing immediate needs. Identifying and addressing immediate needs. After a flood, floods create widespread destruction, disrupt daily lifelines, and isolate communities. Therefore, identifying and addressing immediate needs quickly is critical for ensuring people's safety and well-being. Major areas of intervention. Assessment of immediate needs. Immediate needs include evaluating damage to homes, infrastructure, and essential services. In the first stage, essential priorities include shelter, food, water, medical care, and search and rescue operations. Emergency shelter and accommodation. Temporary shelters are established in safe locations with basic living conditions. During this process, vulnerable groups, such as the elderly, children, and individuals with special needs, are given priority. Food and water distribution. Setting up distribution points for essential supplies and coordinating with local organizations to ensure efficient distribution and proper hygiene measures. Medical assistance, providing immediate medical care, establishing mobile health clinics, and ensuring adequate supplies, personnel, and psychosocial support. Immediate response and long-term recovery. Search and rescue operations. This stage involves deploying trained personnel equipped with appropriate tools to conduct swift rescue operations. Additionally, effective communication systems are established to ensure smooth coordination between all rescue teams. Communication and information dissemination. Communication and information dissemination focuses on establishing effective communication channels to ensure accurate and timely information reaches affected communities. This includes the use of social media, radio broadcasts, and community meetings to keep everyone informed during the response and recovery phases. Infrastructure repair and restoration. Infrastructure repair and restoration focuses on stabilizing the situation and prioritizing the repair of essential infrastructure. These efforts help communities regain normalcy and provide critical support for long-term recovery. Secondary mitigation measures. Secondary mitigation measures involve reviewing disaster response to identify areas needing improvement. Additionally, communities invest in preparedness efforts and education programs focused on reducing flood risks. Addressing long-term recovery. Challenges of long-term recovery. Researchers emphasize that long-term recovery is complex and involves multiple challenges. Rubin, 2009. Transitioning from addressing immediate needs to structured recovery planning requires coordination among public agencies and various stakeholders. Long-term recovery faces major challenges, particularly in infrastructure and housing. Floods can cause extensive damage to roads, bridges, utilities, and buildings, making repairs both time-consuming and costly. Additionally, the loss of homes creates a significant need for temporary and permanent housing solutions. Since rebuilding takes time, communities require adequate shelter during the interim period. Long-term recovery is heavily shaped by economic and health-related challenges. Floods can severely damage the local economy by disrupting or destroying businesses, making recovery dependent on rebuilding commercial activity and restoring economic stability. Health concerns also arise, particularly due to water contamination and the increased risk of waterborne diseases. Effective long-term recovery therefore requires restoring access to clean water and ensuring adequate medical care for affected communities. Long-term recovery efforts focus on several critical areas, including environmental restoration, community displacement, psychological and mental health, insurance and financial challenges, and governmental or policy considerations. These components guide the process of rebuilding affected regions and supporting communities after major flooding events. Environmental restoration. Environmental restoration focuses on the long-term impacts of floods on ecosystems, wildlife habitats, and water quality. It includes implementing restoration projects designed to reduce environmental damage and support the recovery of natural resources. Community displacement. Community displacement involves the possibility of relocating some communities due to ongoing flood risks. It also includes challenges in maintaining social cohesion, cultural identity, and the overall social fabric during and after relocation processes. Psychological and mental health. Individuals and communities may face psychological and mental health challenges after a disaster. Long-term recovery efforts include counseling, support services, and community-based initiatives to help people cope and rebuild emotional well-being. Insurance and financial challenges. Navigating insurance claims and securing financial assistance becomes a major part of long-term recovery. Communities also establish long-term recovery groups to manage cases and coordinate support more effectively. Governmental and policy considerations. Long-term recovery requires coordinated efforts from local, regional, and national governments. Policies are developed to ensure resilient infrastructure, proper land use planning, and effective early warning systems. Planning for future disasters. Urgency of proactive flood preparedness. Increased environmental concerns have made floods a persistent and devastating threat, causing widespread damage, economic loss, and displacement. Climate change further intensifies extreme weather events, highlighting the importance of proactive preparedness measures. Rethinking approach. After each flood, a multifaceted approach involving individuals, communities, and governments is essential to reduce vulnerability and strengthen resilience. Thorough risk assessments help identify flood-prone areas, analyze historical patterns, and predict potential inundation zones. Individual, community, and governmental roles in flood preparedness. Individual flood preparedness. Individuals can assess flood risk using maps and assessment tools provided by local governments and organizations. They should create comprehensive flood plans that include evacuation routes, emergency contacts, and designated safe shelters. Preparedness also involves applying flood mitigation measures and assembling essential emergency kits. Community-based approach. A community-based approach focuses on improving infrastructure, promoting public education, conducting awareness campaigns, and developing comprehensive emergency response plans. Flood preparedness is strengthened through collaboration with local agencies and NGOs, ensuring communities are better equipped for future events. Governmental responsibilities. Governments coordinate local, state, and national agencies to develop new mitigation, preparedness, and response plans. Responsibilities include enforcing land use regulations, involving communities in hazard management, and supporting national insurance programs. Additionally, investment in research and development is essential for advancing flood forecasting, modeling, and mitigation strategies. Embracing resilience in a changing climate. Building resilience in the face of climate change requires awareness and a willingness to integrate climate-related perspectives into planning. It involves fostering adaptability, sustainable practices, and innovative solutions, supported by a collective commitment to mitigating adverse climate impacts. Resilience also means withstanding and proactively preparing for the effects of climate change to ensure long-term safety and stability. It's quiz time. What are key phases of flood recovery? Debris removal. All the statements are correct. Infrastructure restoration. Damage assessment. Correct answer. All the statements are correct. Quiz 2. What must be considered in damage and needs assessment? Economic analysis. Social and cultural sensitivity. All the statements are correct. Physical infrastructure evaluation. Correct answer. All the statements are correct. Quiz 3. What are the major challenges for long-term recovery? Infrastructure damage. Water pollution. Raising temperatures, political elections. Correct answer. Infrastructure damage. Before moving to the next unit of this module, a short test with 5 questions is provided to check your knowledge about Unit 2 on flood recovery and restoration. The results will help you understand which areas you already know well and which areas may require more study.